It started with silence. When the government moved to block more than 24 social platforms in a single sweep, the timeline went dark and the streets lit up. Gen Z in Kathmandu didn't just lose their feeds, they lost the infrastructure of their friendships, side hustles, classes, and micro-communities. The ban wasn't framed as a war on youth, but it landed that way. In the span of hours, a decision meant to tamp down noise became the spark for a movement. And the city learned what happens when you unplug a generation that has been taught to build its civic life online. Why did a social media ban trigger a movement? Because for young Nepalis, platforms aren't entertainment, they are logistics. Class notes live in DMs, gig clients live in comments, and mental health check-ins live in streaks and group chats. A blanket block tore through these thin threads. Cafes that ran orders via WhatsApp watch lists scrambled. Student councils lost their megaphones. Indie bands and streetwear labels lost their storefronts. Even those who welcomed tougher moderation saw the remedy as disproportional, punishing the entire square because a few shouted. The technical act of domain and IP blocks translated into a social message: "We don't trust you." That message organized the response. From ban to backfire, the choreography moved fast. University quads turned into teach-ins. Civil liberties groups published Know Your Rights sheets and emergency legal helplines. VPNs spiked, of course, but so did a physical return to the commons. Chalkboards on sidewalks, QR codes to mirror sites, Bluetooth mesh experiments, and old-school zines. The state focused on an information problem. The youth reframed it as a participation problem. Blocking 26 platforms didn't silence speech. It redistributed it onto streets, rooftops, and buses. Each escalation, shutdown notices, scattered detentions, rumors of deeper blacklists brought broader coalitions, student unions, creators, startup founders, parents worried about safety, even small shopkeepers who missed their daily WhatsApp bulk orders. And the policy U-turn arrived. The ban eased, restrictions trimmed, access slowly restored. But the movement didn't end because the wound wasn't only digital. Curfews in select districts signaled control. Ministerial resignations signaled accountability under pressure. Commissions of inquiry promised truth later. The youth read the mix as a familiar dance: concede on the headline, contain on the ground, and push questions into committees. It sharpened demands. Transparent criteria for platform interventions, judicial oversight on future blocks, published takedown data, and a digital rights charter that binds any government, not just this cabinet. Inside the movement, culture did the heavy lifting. Memes distilled legal arguments into jokes that traveled farther than white papers. Rap ciphers outside campuses stitched grievance into rhythm. Cost of living, job scarcity, exam scandals, and corruption found the same beat as free expression. Live streams became mutual aid, maps of safe exits, lists of volunteer medics, numbers for lawyers, and reminders to carry masks, water, and ID. When police lines formed, performers switched from punchlines to de-escalation. Chant once, take 3 steps back, hands visible, cameras up, no projectiles. The same creators who make dance trends taught formations for risk reduction. This wasn't a battle between digital rights and public order. It was about designing rules that can do both. The question young people posed was practical. Can Nepal regulate platforms without silencing citizens? Their sketch looked like this: targeted, court-reviewed orders against specific harms, transparent criteria and sunset clauses, due process for publishers and users, independent audits of state requests, and a locally anchored content flagging path so harmful posts don't need national switches to be addressed. The internet's harm profile is real: harassment, incitement, scams. But the remedy can be surgical. Otherwise, bans flatten nuance and export speech to darker corners that neither public nor police can see. Economically, a week offline was not theoretical. Micro-retailers who announced drops on Instagram or WhatsApp lost a chunk of monthly revenue. Tour guides who fill last-minute slots via Facebook groups watched bookings evaporate. Food trucks that rely on QR menus and stories for footfall saw slower nights. Creators who trade in brand collabs lost deliverables and trust. The aftershock rippled into payment gateways and delivery gigs. None alone wrecked a household. Together, they compressed margins that are already thin. The ban proved an unintended point. Social platforms are infrastructure for small businesses, not just influencers. If one ministry took notes, it was the communications apparatus. Crisis messaging during the ban's rollout lagged, unclear lists of platforms, conflicting timelines, and little guidance for businesses or schools. By the time clarification arrived, the narrative had calcified, arbitrary, sweeping, out of touch. The lessons for any government were simple. Don't improvise in the dark. Publish draft measures with a comment window. Define harm categories and thresholds in plain language. Appoint a single accountable spokesperson. Provide service-specific guidance and exceptions for health, education, and emergency alerts. And set measurable goals and review dates. More importantly, pre-commit to independent review. Reversals appear principled when they're built into the design. They look like retreats when they're not. Gen Z's anger ran deeper than censorship. The ban tapped into stored grievances, precarious jobs after degrees, a cost of living squeeze, slow accountability for exam leaks, stalled campus reforms, and a sense that elders negotiate among themselves and inform the young later. Censorship became a symbol of a broader pattern, decisions about youth without youth. That's why the movement persisted after access returned. The signal was no longer just unblock our apps, but include us in the rules. The demand shifted from a permission to post toward a seat at the table where posting rules are written. Parents, too, entered the story, not as censors, but as guardians. Teen protest safety guides circulated. Agree on a route and a rendezvous. Carry ID and emergency contacts. Share location with a trusted adult. Go in threes. Stay at the edges of crowds. Avoid barricade fronts. No projectiles, no masks that can be misread. Film responsibly and blur minors, and leave at the first sign of escalation. For families, the question was not whether teens would care about their world, but whether they could do so without preventable harm. The movement's adult wing focused on logistics, water, first aid, legal support, more than slogans. The region watched. In South Asia, where youthful populations, cheap data, and polarized politics collide, Nepal's arc offered a compact case study. Sweeping bans breed workarounds, broaden coalitions, and slow government's ability to gather consent later. Transparent, targeted regulation paired with civil society input preserves agility and legitimacy. Youth culture is a governance asset when invited early and a governance challenge when excluded. Memes and music are not frivolous. They are speech technologies that can stabilize or destabilize depending on whether the system respects them. So what does a way forward look like that preserves safety, speech, and trust? At the policy level, pass a Digital Rights and Platform Governance Act that codifies narrow, reviewable interventions with time limits, transparency reports, and appeal paths. Create an independent oversight body with youth, civil liberties, business, and tech seats. Require agencies to publish takedown templates and harm thresholds. And invest in digital literacy so citizens can identify disinformation without the state reaching for a switch. At the platform level, local language moderation capacity, civic integrity teams that partner with Nepali researchers, and fast lanes for public interest content during emergencies. At the community level, creator councils that translate legalese into shareable guides, school curricula on consent and online safety, and parent-teen compacts on protest conduct. For the movement itself, the tactical playbook is getting sharper. Keep protests short, predictable, and disciplined. Rotate roles so burnout doesn't fracture cohesion. Document all interactions. Use legal observers and de-escalation teams in identifiable vests. Coordinate with local businesses to reduce disruption and win allies. And maintain a separate, calm channel for negotiations, so victories are captured in policy, not just clips. The strategic playbook is to convert moment into structure. Youth advisory panels with real remit, open consultations on tech regulation, and watchdog dashboards that track whether promises from inquiries and resignations become reforms. In the end, the ban was a stress test, not just of the internet, but of the social contract. Nepal's youth answered with a blueprint: rights with responsibility, regulation with review, order with openness, and protest with safety drills. The state's course correction showed capacity to listen, but the unfinished work is to embed that listening into institutions. So another blackout isn't the only way young citizens are heard. When a generation that grew up online walks into the square, it isn't abandoning the digital public. It's rebuilding it, out loud, together, and in full view. For deeper explainers on digital rights, youth movements, and crisis governance across South Asia, visit globalinfoveda.com.